Beautiful people, thank you so much for stopping by my channel. My name is Bree Cherie, and today we are going to be doing my March wrap up. So I'm super late. I already know. Today is the 5th of April, and I'm just getting around to doing a wrap up. So I am going to link my Goodreads, so if you want to add me as a friend on Goodreads so you know what I'm reading during the month, you can keep up with that. I always update Goodreads before anything else when I finish a book. So let's go ahead and get started and jump right into it. I'm going to first talk about the picture books that I read. I read 2 picture books in the month of March. I truly feel like I haven't read a lot of books this month, but the page count is probably a normal page count for me. I usually read between 15 to 20, up to 20 books a month. In March, I think I hit maybe 16, 17 books. I'm not sure. But the first book is Sierra and Russell Wilson, Why Not You? I love the illustrations in this book. I also love the representation. It's not just people of color from different ethnicities. It's also people with disabilities and different things like that within the illustrations. So I think they did a really good job, but it really is truly motivating and inspiring for young kids to be able to read a book like this. So I really loved it. I believe I gave it 5 stars. I'm sure I did. Yep, so I did give it 5 stars, and I loved it. I loved it. It was really amazing and a quick read. The other book that I read in March is I Am Jazz. I bought this book to open up discussions regarding LGBTQ plus and with my child, and so we've had those conversations before. She is aware. Not only wanted to support and just purchase the book finally because I have it as an ebook, but I wanted a physical copy, and again, 5 stars. This is truly an amazing starter for kids, a book starter to have those discussions for LGBTQ plus for children, and I absolutely love it. So 5 stars. The next book I'm going to talk about is Daughter of the Deep by Rick Riordan. Book I gave 4 stars to. It's about a girl named Anna who is a freshman at this school that is underwater, and it's an academy, and her parents are both deceased, and her brother also goes to the school. And I'm just noticing this sticker that I love that. That's super cool. But they're both at the school, and they're training in certain fields. So everyone has a certain field that they're training in. The main character Anna can talk to and has a connection with the animals of the water. So it turns out that she is a relative of the person who created the school, called Captain Nemo, and there's this spaceship that has been abandoned for over 100 years that she finds out is still up and running. The ship is alive, and she's able to successfully communicate with the ship. It turns out that one of her loved ones, and I'm not going to say who because it's a spoiler, it turns out that someone she knows is bombed her academy, which is so harsh, but bombed the academy and, unfortunately killed a lot of people, and she has to successfully try to survive on a ship while getting closer to the ship that's alive, that's a part of her family, that her great-great-great-great-grandfather created. And I thought this was just a really good book. That was a horrible synopsis, but I read this in like 2 days. It was super easy to read. It was fun. And it really was about the main POV, keeping people alive and becoming a captain and just stepping up to the plate. So I think that's what I really took out of it, is that Anna really stepped up to the plate. She's dealing with betrayal. She's dealing with having to be a leader and a captain of the ship, and having to navigate and work with her crew to, for their success, for them to survive, and with a little bit of knowledge that she did get. And then the next book I want to talk about is a YA book called You Truly Assume by Layla Sabrine. Now, this is an arc that was given to me by my good friend Brandy, and I was so happy to be able to read this. There are some trigger warnings that I had to look up, but there's a lot of Islamophobia in this book, and it is about a young girl in high school who creates a blog on accident. She creates a blog on accident, and she is joined by 2 other girls to help run the blog, and she's dealing with a lot of Islamophobia, and people not only just like online being bullies, but people in person also being bullies. There is a terrorist attack that happens, and the first thing that happens is that she's worried that it's a Muslim, and she is a black. But all 3 characters are black and Muslim, and they're trying to navigate the world of their religious beliefs, as well as being black and all the things that comes with all of that. Other than the book being super sad to me, the fact that people are still dealing with this, not only being black, not only dealing with racial issues, but also religious beliefs issues, and the things that they have to deal with, unfortunately, is horrible. The comments that are being said. People deserve safe spaces, and I think that being black is hard enough, but being black and Muslim is 2 times harder. And this book, I did have to put it down because it just bothered me to my core. If you don't know, I am an ESL teacher. Being an ESL teacher, I deal with a lot of people who are, well, not this school year, but my last school year, I was a teacher at a school for 2 years. We had a large population of Muslims, black Muslims, who came from Africa, and I can't imagine one of my students having to deal with this, and I think that's why I had to put it down like once or twice, because it made me super sad as a teacher. And one of the characters in here was a teacher who was making Islamophobic comments. So I will say, before I wrap up the synopsis of this book, or my thoughts on this book, is that right now it is currently Ramadan, which means that people who are Muslim faith are fasting right now. I just want to bring awareness to that, because it's super important that, I think it's just super important that we are aware of the people around us in potential cultures and beliefs and different things like that. I enjoyed this book. I did give it 4 stars. And it was an amazing book. I cannot wait to read the next book that this author comes out with, because I truly enjoyed it and was an easy, quick read as well. I want to talk about, I will leave a picture right here because I actually read this on NetGalley. This is Frizzy by Claribel A. Ortega, and this is a graphic novel, and I thought it was beyond cute, and just like, I love that book. This was my first graphic novel that I read of the year, I believe, and the book was truly amazing. It talked about, it was a cute book for kids, for middle grade, but what I really loved is that it really talked about embracing one's hair. I mean, the overall gist of the book is embracing one's hair, no matter the texture, the length, the frizziness, the, whatever, embracing your hair, but it also brought in different aspects of people in her life that made, like, her mom loved her hair more when it was straight. Going to the salon every other week or every week, and just the stress that came with it. I love this, but I did read it on NetGalley, and I did give it 5 stars. I thought it showed awareness to people who believe straighter hair is cute, people who believe that straighter hair is more taken care of, and it just put awareness, it just put a lot of awareness of, like, how we think hair should look like. Society says that hair should look like, and that's not the case at all. And then she ends up blossoming into this beautiful child who is able to advocate for herself a lot more. And I loved it. Her hair was beautiful. So, as you could tell by the cover, it was truly beautiful. The next book I want to talk about is Blood Scion. This is by Deborah Fallier. I love this book. If I could give a book 10 out of 10 stars, I would give this book 10 out of 10 stars. I am not a character-driven person. I love knowing about the characters, feeling like I can follow them, feeling like, I get them, I understand them. But I am a very plot-driven person. Something needs to happen in 100 pages. Something needs to happen in 150 pages. Otherwise, I'm about to DNF a book. And this book, when you thought there couldn't be any more plots, there was another one. And it just kept going and going. There's also Orishas in this book, which I really, really enjoyed. And so it's about a 15-year-old girl named Sloane who is recruited into this army to go against the rebels. And she's fighting against blood scions and rebellious people. And so the army is recruiting kids. There are people that have powers who are called blood scions. And she is having to hide the fact that she is a blood scion. I love the fact that not only does she have to hide her identity, but within this book you're watching or reading about her fighting up the ranks, just trying to figure out how to survive, but also figure out where's her mom, what happened to her mom, and she really wants to find information out about that and how to overcome the difficulties of what's happening inside of the army. This book was outstanding. Outstanding. I loved everything about this book. I don't care the fact that it was YA and there is death in the book. Some of the criticisms that I've heard about this book are freaking ridiculous. Children soldiers are a real thing. Can we not act like it's not? I don't know what planet you're on. I don't care that this is YA. This was a phenomenal book. I will keep recommending this to everyone. It is hard-hitting because it is, to me, I get some of the criticism as far as saying, this is a lot. There's a lot going on. Yeah, it's a war. So it is a war. I just will continue to recommend this book because it is action-packed. It is betrayal, death, her just overcoming different things. I loved everything about this book. Like I said, it is plot after plot after plot after plot twist after plot twist after plot twist, and I'm like, oh, you got my head spinning. This will be a reread for me. I loved it. It is the Orishas, the magical system that the blood scions have. I loved it. This book is a 10 out of 10, 10 out of 5, 150%. Love this book. This was definitely the best book I've read this year in the month since March. From January to March, this is one of the best books that I've read. This and another book that I will mention, which is an adult fantasy as well, that has vampires in it. So I'll mention that in a bit. The next book I want to mention is The Gilded by Marissa Meyer. I've had this on my shelf for a while now. Finally read it. It's a Rumpelstiltskin retelling, and I enjoyed it. I mean, if you know Rumpelstiltskin, you know Rumpelstiltskin's story. So the thing that I really loved about this is that the main character, Sorinda, so either way, the main POV, she's able to tell stories, and she's able to engulf people into stories. She's able to tie them in and suck them into a story, and I absolutely love that, where the storytelling just entrances you into and deep into the story, and she just makes them up on a whim, just makes up a story, and she spends a bunch of gold. Well, she doesn't spend what is that kid's name? Guild spends a bunch of gold, and the gold is used to hurt magical beings like himself, and he spends it even though it knows that it can hurt him and tie him down and whatnot. And so she, at the end of it, it feels like there should be a part 2, which I believe there is another book coming out later this year because it left on a cliffhanger. So I'm excited to read it. The next book I want to talk about is Black Sun. The book, first of all, starts off crazy. I was not ready for that. I heard great things about this book, but I was not ready for the beginning. Like, oh my god. But it starts off where Serpio, the kid in the book, becomes he's a crow. So he can speak to crows, and he can see in the eyes of crows because he is blind. And he is on a mission to take down the Sun Priest. And so the other POV, I'm trying to think of her name. Tova. Oof. Something. She helps him get to the Sun Priest. So she sails the ocean, fights the sea, all types of... I can't wait for the next book. I am giving a horrible synopsis because there's just so much that went into this book of them and her and what she had to go through, and her being a drunk and going through childhood trauma, him going through childhood trauma, and him being a crow. There's just so much to this book. I am not doing the synopsis justice at all. I highly recommend it, even though I think the second book's cover is trash, and I'm still going to read it. I heard it's not as good for the people that did get the arcs, but either way, I'm going to read it. This was a good book. I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. Let me make sure before I'm lying. Yes. I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. I truly loved it. There was a lot to unpack in this book. And I mean, like, it boils down to something traumatic happening to a boy. He is blind, and he becomes a crow. He learns how to fight. He learns how to use his gifts and different things like that. And he is destined to kill the Sun Priest by the solar eclipse. And so he goes on a journey with the girl on a boat, and they make it and try to kill the Sun Priest. So, love this. 5 out of 5 stars. Great, amazing book. This book was heavy and historical, which I can appreciate, but it is about a girl who, Hetty and her husband, Benji, are conductors under the Underground Railroad, freeing dozens of slaves to freedom. So this mentions them freeing slaves, but it's more so a mystery. There are slaves with things on their neck that prevent them, that allows masters to be to track them, to track the slaves. But it's heavy, and mystery, trying to figure out who's killing the people and leaving these symbols on them. And then Hetty and her husband Benji are just investigating it. Meanwhile, she is a conductor, so she has magic, and she uses her magic to not only make them money, to be able to maintain their home and whatnot, but she also uses her magic to help free the slaves as well. So, but again, this is heavy in mystery, more so than anything. I am planning on reading the second book. I did give this book 3 stars, 3.5. So I will be reading the second one for sure, and hopefully all goes well, and that is as good as this book. So, moving right along, the next book I have is Jade City by Fonda Lee. This book I buddy read with my good friend Brandy. So this book, I don't know why it took me so long to read it. I have all 3 books right up here. I have all 3 books. I don't know why it took me this long to read this book, but I'm so glad I did. This book was amazing. It is about, so there's 2 main clans that use jade to help enhance their magical powers or their abilities that they have. And the jade is, for some people, they're not able to handle it. The 2 clans are trying to, one is trying to get more jade than the other, and they kind of take over territories. They're constantly fighting. There's a family dynamic in here. There's a school that you learn how to, there's a school that one of them goes to, and we're following him, while before he graduates, and it's like 5 years worth of schooling or something like that. There's a lot that went into this book. It was heavy action packed. There's a lot of political intrigue in this book as well. I truly loved it. It did leave off where, okay, now I'm ready for the second book. But again, I gave this book 4 stars. I think that it was truly amazing. I love the dynamics of not only just getting to understand the political system, the 2 clans. We get different POVs from both clan members, as well as the family dynamic and the struggles that some of them have over jade. Some people who wear jade get really itchy and are not able to control themselves. So the cliffhanger that this thing left me on had me in a hangover. Like, I was so frustrated at the fact that it left me on a hanger like that. Like, how are you just gonna leave me on a cliffhanger like that? I can't wait to read the next one. I cannot wait to read the next one. So the next book I'm going to put right here, it's called The Eos Key, The Winter Blood Book 1. This is by D.M. Lowry. I have not been telling you guys the author's names, and I'm so sorry. I don't think I have been telling you guys the author names. But this is The Eos Key. Again, I'll have a picture right here. I'm going to read the synopsis because I'm going to do a really bad job at telling you the synopsis. When it comes to the way I think, how can I wrap this book up in 2 sentences? And that's just the way I teach. That's the way I've been trained to teach. And so how do we wrap this up in 2 to 3 sentences? Boom, bomb, that's it. And so that's my type of synopsis because that's what I'm used to. That's what I was trained on. So I'm going to read the synopsis that is given on Goodreads. Power will bring them together. Will destiny tear them apart? After a failed attempt to end her life, Leah Carter leaves her childhood home to become a waitress in the state's most prominent hotel. Traumatized after her mother's death, she silently grapples with her pain until she saves the life of a mysterious man who reveals to her a world true of magic. Terrifying wonder. Eric Winter is a vampire ward, sworn to protect the creatures of the city. After centuries of heartache and loneliness, he is finally ready to end his existence. When the fate brings them together, Aaliyah is irresistibly drawn to Eric's world, where witches and vampires are more than a childish bedtime story. Together they discover, too, she has incredible powers running through her veins. Power so rare, every creature in the city will kill to get their share of it. Will Aaliyah allow Eric into her life and into her heart? Will Eric be able to defy destiny and keep those he loves safe? The Eos Key is a dark, magical story that will keep you spellbound long after the last page. Now, if vampires, witches, werewolves is not your thing, I'm so sorry. I don't know what Twilight did to people. I don't care. I don't care. But vampires, witches, werewolves, like, I love that. The book starts off in a crisis. Hooked me in, okay? Hooked me in. I was ready. I was ready. I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars. I knew from the first chapter I was going to love this book. Hands down. Just like Blood Scion, I knew I was going to love it. And so, the beginning of the book, like, she's running. She's like this 5-year-old kid who's running away from a werewolf and a monster. And I'm like, wait, what happened? Like, who is running? I don't know. The book was amazing. Now, this book has content warnings. Not only in the beginning of the book does it mention the content warnings, but it gives you resources and phone numbers to call for those content warnings if you need to speak to someone. So, I've only seen that happen in one other book. This is a self-published book. I listened to the audiobook of The Eos Key, and every POV has their own narrator, which I love. There's like 6 or 7 different narrators for each main POV. There's one I love more. but I'm not gonna go there. You just gotta listen to it. Again, this book is about Aaliyah, who gets off work and she sees someone attempting to kill themselves, and in the process of that, they are infatuated with each other after that. She saves him, he saves her, and in the midst of that, she finds out more about herself, and things start to become uncovered. The Winter family, which is the family that ends up, they're very prominent in the community, and again, he is not a soldier, but like he works to, make sure creatures are safe and whatnot. So that's his job. And meanwhile, she's just working at a hotel, but she's falling in love with him. He's falling in love with her. And then something in her blood makes everyone go crazy. And I love this book. It was done so well. Things get unpacked about her abilities. Things get unpacked about her family. Because again, she just wants to learn to figure out, I don't know if I mentioned, but like her family members, her mom and dad are dead. And so she wants to unpack that. She was raped by an uncle. Not knowing that she has abilities that was kept from her. But she learns about this rare power that she has, and again, a lot of things get unpacked. There's an action scene where, again, the book starts off at high stakes. The book ends in high stakes. The love interest was done so well. I love it. I cannot wait for the second book. The book made me cry. There's a reunion scene. Not going to tell you what it is. You just got to read. There's a reunion scene, and they're meeting each other once again and being reunited. And I cried. The book is available on Kindle Unlimited. Please check it out. Just check it out. This is self-published. Give the author a try. She is BIPOC. I forgot to mention, not only is this an author of color, right? This author, I'm just going to give you some cliff notes of like what's in the book. So main black character, LGBTQ rep inside the book, witches, vampires, and werewolves, mental health discussions. So there's mental health rep in there. There's blood and gore, and romance. And it's done so well. So not only are we getting black girl magic story in the book, but we're also getting LGBTQ. We're getting mental health rep. There's just a lot that goes into this book. Now, I ordered a physical signed copy that's coming from, she lives in Canada, so it's coming from Canada. It will be here sometime this month, and I cannot wait to unbox it with you guys. But I will personally buy another one that I can get soon, and in my hands, it will not be a signed copy, but I want to give a giveaway. I want to do a giveaway. I want to put it into the hands of someone who is truly going to enjoy it, like I did. Hopefully the audio, I know there's some things that she's working out so she could put the audio on like Audible and platforms like that. So I know there are some things she's working out with that, but the audio is 10 times better. And a lot of the narrators, because there's like 6 or 7 of them, this is their first time reading and being a narrator for an audiobook. It was done so well. One of my favorite TV shows is this Discovery Witches in the originals. So, hands down, hooked. Okay, we gotta move on. So, the next book that I read is The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson. I tabbed this baby up. This book, if you don't know, we announced back in February that myself, Brandy, Princess, and Bonnie, we were going to do a Brandon Sanderson read-along for 2022. This read-along lasts the entire year. We have a schedule and a reading order to read all of the books that is in a sort of order, that in a flow that makes sense. So I am so excited to read more of this. But this, hands down, I gave this book 4.5 stars. The world building, because it is adult epic fantasy, is something new for me. I love the book. I'm not a fan of Vin, and I don't want to get into it too much, but it's about them trying to overtake the Empire. We're going to have a discussion on this book on the 9th, so I will reserve all comments and everything for the 9th. So if you want my opinion, come join us on Princess channel. Again, her links will be down below. We have a schedule laid out on when we're going to do our live shows. So every month we'll have a live show. Every month we'll have a 24-hour read-along that we'll do like reading sprints with and different things like that. We'll have a lot of fun. But this is really a group collective effort for the whole year of 2022. We want you guys involved. We want you guys reading along with us. And I hope you guys join us on our read-along in our sprint that we're having in the middle of the month as well. But stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe to all of our channels so you know what's going on and when we're going to post and have sprints regarding Brandon Sanderson. The next book I want to talk about is the Southern Book Club Guide to Slaying Vampires. First of all, I gave this 2 stars. Can we have a discussion really quick? I gave this 2 stars. It was a good book of nosy women who created a book club, who wanted to read mystery books and thriller books and different things like that. And it was great. I loved it. There's no vampires in here. There is a person who is not necessarily a vampire, but that does suck blood, and he says, I'm not a vampire. He says, I'm not a vampire. But what got me was the lack of content warnings that is in this book. This is an adult horror book. I'm expecting, there's some things that like bugs and like different things like that, like that kind of creep me out. But this book, it wasn't great. It was not great. You lost me when you said that this woman's daughter, you caught this woman's daughter. Spoiler. If you want to know why I rated this 2 stars, you're gonna have to listen to the spoiler. But when you caught the woman's daughter in bed with a grown man between her thighs, sucking the blood of the daughter in between her legs. I have yet to hear someone discuss that. I don't want to hear about ecstasy with a teenager. Personally, I don't want to hear about that. Now, when you are talking about children dying, I'm like, oh, that's so sad. Like, that's heartbreaking. I can't even imagine. Like, that is, children dying in books, like, that just is heartbreaking. But this is a child who's fully alive, and you're in between her thighs. I don't care. 2 stars, and it only got 2 stars and not a DNF because the women in the book club, they some badass bitches. And that's the only reason why I got 2 stars is because of the women in the book. Next book. My Soul to Keep by Tana Reid. This is a horror book that I truly enjoyed. I truly enjoyed this book. This was about a girl named Jessica, and there's some time hops in this book. So if you are going to read it, just keep in mind this guy named Dawit. He goes by Dawit, and he goes by David. So this lady named Jessica marries this guy, and she does not know that he's immortal. She does not know. She has a baby by this man. She does not know that he's immortal, which a ritual happened to Dawit, like during a war, like 1500s or something like that, 1500s. And anyway, so Dawit has a ritual, and he cannot die. So he is living his life with mortals and has a family, and he ends up having to leave a previous family, move on to the next family, create another family, and falls in love with this lady named Jessica. Well, Jessica is a reporter, and she's investigating certain stories that may or may not lead back to him. Well, Dawit gets caught, and they say, okay, you need to come back to the Covenant, and you need to join us again. And he's like, no, I want to stay here with my family. So it is him wanting to stick with his family, fight for his family, tell her the truth, tell his wife the truth. Something happens, and then he is forced to attempt to save his wife with, so he can live with his wife and daughter. But things happen, and unfortunately, there's some tragedy that happens towards the end of the book. Now, this book was amazing. I believe I gave it 4 stars. I loved it. It is a long and dense book. Now, the writing is small. The audio, if you get the audio, it's only 346 pages, but 346 pages, and the audio is over 20 hours. So keep that in mind. It's because the writing is literally so dense and so small. But there's, again, the time hops. It took me a while to get into the book, but I truly enjoyed it. I truly enjoyed listening to his multiple families and the things that he had to go through, heartbreaks and different things like that. There is a somewhat happy ending towards the end, but this has 3 other books, and I will be ordering them. I do plan on reading The Good House this month by the same author. This is a really good series that I will probably finish during Black Ween-a-thon because I loved it. I truly loved it. And the husband goes around killing people, trying to cover his tracks and different things like that. And I thought this was a really, really, really good book. The next book I want to talk about is 1619. I started 1619 in the month of March and did not finish. I think I'm like 25% of the way in. It is a hard-hitting book, and the language is slightly different, but I'm really taking my time with that book, so I look forward to hopefully just getting through it within either April or May, but that's a book that I'm carrying over to the following month is 1619. So that is that book. The other book that I am carrying over as well that I started but have not finished, this is about a girl who pretends to be someone's daughter to gain access into the house and have a family and have this ranking and have like positions of power. I honestly don't care. This is a slow book that I read 187 pages and I'm like, do something. You're pretending to be someone else. I get it. Do something. I am going to start this book over. I'm going to give it a second chance. I'm not going to DNF this book because I have this one and I have the Liar's Knot. But this book is so slow. Next book I want to talk about is Run by John Lewis, Andrew Aiden, Elle Furry, and Nate Powell. This book is about John Lewis and his journey within the civil rights movement and how he started. I did not realize, I knew John Lewis and like his story a little bit with Selma and like how he was involved in civil rights and different legislations that he has made or that he contributed to and was a part of, certain bills that he wrote, but that's more of his political side of things. This is about his journey into the civil rights and him being chairman of SNCC, Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. Talked about violence. It talked about the organization that he was a part of and he was chairman. It talked about how he wasn't chairman anymore, what he decided to do when he quit the organization of nonviolence because it went in a different direction than what he wanted to be a part of, how he got booted out essentially, and I love the fact that this book, not only did I learn a lot about the people who was a part of it and just his story, he's very detailed when it comes to even the names. He tells you about the names. He tells you their positions. He gives you their information. Like, he tells you so-and-so from this organization who used to be blase, blase, blase in position. He gives you their first and last name. He gives you dates. So I enjoyed this. It was amazing. Loved it. 5 out of 5 stars. So these are all of the books that I read in the month of March. I hope you truly enjoyed this video. Go ahead and like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.